4th of July arrived a week early in Richmond, Virginia, when the IRL Indycar Series invaded the short 3/4-mile bull ring. Dan Weldon took home the trophy, but it was the bumping and grinding that produced the real fireworks.
Yeah, again, he takes, he crashes out of a race and takes me out, so it's further proof that he probably shouldn't be there. He's driven this way since IRL started, and he continues to do it. I mean, he's a nice guy. He just drives really stupid in a race car.
Scott Sharp's messing about. You take some chances and you get other people making mistakes that cost you the race.
To make it even hotter, the British are coming on strong. Dan Weldon looks to take a piece of America home on our Independence Day. The fight for the championship is a powder keg with less than 100 points separating the top 5. The fuse is lit. The place is Kansas Speedway. The time is now, and the heat is on.
The heat is on. Are you really ready to fly? The heat is on. The heat is on. The heat is on.
They're inches away at 214 miles an hour.
I don't know how this is going to work.
They run 3 wide into 3. Buddy Rice wins the Indianapolis 500.
America.
Here at ABC Sports, we wish you a happy 4th of July. I think we've got some fireworks for the crowd that's pouring into the Kansas Speedway. Our coverage of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 is on the air. The field is set to go, and we welcome you to our Firestone pre-race show. You know, there was a major announcement at the Indianapolis Speedway this week, sad in many ways. Al Unser Jr., after 22 years in the sport, 327 starts, 34 wins, including 2 wins at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, announced his retirement. The Unser name, of course, is synonymous with racing. It's been a fascinating road for Al Unser Jr. with the focus on Indy. Who will forget the '89 race when he and Emerson Fittipaldi went side by side into 3? Al lost that day, but 3 years later, by 5 feet over Scott Goodyear, he took the win. He came back to the Indy 500 in '94 and scored his second victory. But last week, we all saw history when he climbed out of Pat Patrick's race car and this week announced his retirement from racing. Now it's his son, Al Unser, driving in the Menards Infiniti Pro Series and looking good. So as Granddad and Dad look on, the 3rd generation starts its odyssey. So what will Al Unser Jr. do today? Scott Goodyear has the answer.
Well, thanks, Paul. We're way up here on top of the grandstand in the spotters section with a recently retired Al Unser Jr., who is now spotting for the replacement, Jeff Simmons. The spotters, well, their job is to be the eyes and the ears for the drivers on the racetrack for today's event. And Al, recently retired, I got to ask you this one question, simply. What does it feel like to come to a racetrack for the first time since 1983 when you're not going to be sitting in a race car?
Well, to be honest, it feels real good. I was real happy with my decision, and I moved over into a new chapter in my life, and I'm excited about it, and I'm hoping Jeff Simmons does a great job today.
And part of that new chapter is becoming a racing dad, because your son Al, Mini Al as they say, finished a great 3rd in his first Infiniti Pro race yesterday. What did that feel like standing on the sidelines?
I tell you, I was more nervous watching him out there running than I ever was in a race car, and I couldn't be more proud of my son, little Al, for doing a great job yesterday.
I was watching. He did do a good job, but I want to officially thank you for retiring, because now hopefully I won't have to watch that 1992 finish that you and I are involved in every time we ever do anything about Al Unser. So enjoy retirement.
Thanks, Scott.
Paul, back to you.
Yeah, Scott, I'm not so sure that video is going to change, though. He's still going to win it. Jack Arute, you've had some marvelous times in winner's circle with Al.
Oh, Paul, when Al won that first Indy 500, he tearfully said to me in Victory Lane, Jack, you don't know what Indy means to me. Well, during the course of his career, we learned what it means to him. But at age 42, I think it was time for Al to step out of the cockpit. We talked about it at Indy. There's a changing of the guard. Young guns are getting in these cars now. I don't think at 42, Al Unser was willing to take the chances that some of these drivers do today.
And talking about those young guns, let's go to Jerry Punch.
Thanks, Paul. We may have bid farewell to one of open wheel racing's great American heroes, Al Unser Jr., but we're watching firsthand the meteoric rise of another born in the USA Indycar star in Buddy Rice. And Buddy, third pole of the year. We know what happened last time you sat on a pole. You won at Indy. What will it take to be successful here today?
Well, I mean, we're going to have to, battle through the heat, I think, and as the track changes, because we had rain last night, we only had a 30-minute warm-up, I think. Both grooves are good right now, but I think it's going to progressively start coming in, and you have to make sure your car's tuned in for the last, 30, 40 laps.
We know it's been a quiet but emotional week for you. Your biggest fan and follower, your dad, Bud, back home after having back surgery. He'll be watching today. Any words to him before you climb in the car?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a little different. It's the first race he's missed, so it's... But I think he'll be back soon. He's doing good. He needed to get that back surgery done so he can come out here and be a little bit more comfortable for him.
Hey, good luck today.
Thank you.
From the Indy winner to last week's Richmond winner, here's Todd Harris.
All right, thank you very much, Jerry. Here with Dan Weldon. I want to do international diplomacy. I don't want you guys to have any hard feelings about the little scuffle we had 228 years ago, so this is from me to you.
You must have mistaken this for the Union Jack, right? But oh no, it's good to be racing in America. I think certainly in the Indy Racing League right now, it's the best series in the world, and happy to be part of it. So I guess this is okay.
Last week in Richmond, you used pit strategy and mileage to get the victory. Can you do it here in Kansas?
I don't think it opens up the strategy so much here, but you never know with Tony Cotman in the pits. But I think certainly we've struggled. We've had a problem that we haven't been able to find out why we have it, and we're going to work on that. And I'm thinking this is about the best we're going to be during the weekend, and you never know. I think Andretti Green Racing always give us a good car, so we're hoping for the best.
Andretti Green, kind of a four-headed monster for the rest of the competitors.
I think the four of us might look like monsters. We're not the prettiest of guys, but it's a great team, fantastic team atmosphere. I think with Honda and Klein Tools and Jim Beam, you've got a very strong package, and so have the other guys in the 711, the Arca X car, and obviously the XM. So we have a good time at Andretti Green. We work hard, and hopefully we'll try and get our fifth win of the season as a team.
Have a great ride today.
Thank you.
Back up to you, Paul.
Hey, that's a major performance. Dan Weldon remembering the sponsors for every one of the four cars in the team and giving them a good plug. Well, the crowd, they still have quite a line of traffic coming in here, and they've hidden down below the grandstand to stay out of the Kansas heat today, but it's going to be a great crowd as we celebrate the 4th of July with the IRL, the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 from Kansas Speedway.
Every time that furrow.
Well, we've got quite a lineup today on ABC Sports for you. When we're done here, we're going to send you over to the Cialis Western Open, where Ames and Hensby share the lead, but Tiger Woods is closing, so it's fireworks all afternoon. And with the IRL, it has been truly an amazing season thus far. Oh, this one is going to be tight. Hornish has done it. Hornish beats Castro Neves in his 12th career win. A blistering pace, but Tony Kanaan had everybody covered. Dan Weldon takes the win. Kanaan second. Tony Kanaan's going to celebrate for Weldon.
Celebrate for Honda, I think.
Look at that. So close to hitting Kanaan. Buddy Rice wins the Indianapolis 500.
I tell you, I don't think the rain made any difference. We could have gone the full 200 laps.
Whoa! Oh, man. Tony Kanaan scores his third career win. Dan Weldon takes the win. Second of the season. Well, and that kind of action has increased since they reduced the engines down to 3 liters for the Indianapolis 500. It's been head-to-head all the way. So who, in fact, can win on this day? Let's take a look now at the Argent Mortgage starting grid.
Buddy Rice, car number 15. Tony Kanaan, car number 11.
Vitor Meira, car number 17.
Sam Hornish Jr., car number 6.
Thomas Scheckter, car number 4.
Helio Castroneves, car number 3.
Townsend Bell, car number 2.
Kosuke Matsuura, car number 55.
Dario Franchitti, car number 27. Brian Herta, number 7.
Adrian Fernandez, car number 5.
Alex Barron, car number 51.
Dan Weldon, car number 26.
Felipe Giafoni, car number 24.
AJ Foyt IV, car number 14. Scott Dixon, car number 1.
Ed Carpenter, car number 52.
Scott Sharp, car number 8.
Darren Manning, car number 10.
Jeff Simmons.
Tora Takagi, car number 12.
Dario Franchitti had to change an engine overnight, so he's going to start in the back of the field today. Here are the point standings after the first 6 races, with Kanaan and Weldon both out of Andretti Green Racing at the top of the order. And speaking of Andretti Green Racing, boy, what a team it is. 4 powerful drivers, 4 powerful cars, and they have been a dominant power throughout the season. Now, normally you assign that kind of verbiage to a team like Penske and this driver Sam Hornish or Helio Castroneves. Well, that doesn't seem to be the rule this season. It's been a different kind of year for Penske Racing and Racing's winningest duo. After winning the first race of the season, Sam Hornish has had it tough. And then Helio Castroneves got into trouble at Indy by missing his pit. At Texas, it was Sam's problem again. Then a week ago at Richmond, the two went after one another. Finally forging his way through, Sam did battle with Thomas Scheckter and came out the worse for wear. He was able to get his car going. Roger Penske was not happy. But when Sam did get moving, it was in-your-face Thomas. And the Penske cars today will start 4th and 6th, one behind one another. Crowd moving to their seats. I hope you've enjoyed our pre-race show from Firestone. When we come back, we should have a full field screaming for the green flag. The field is rolling at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 at Kansas Speedway. 200 laps, 300 miles, around a 1.5 mile oval.
What a great racetrack this is, guys. 1.5 miles in length, only 15-degree banking, not like that 24 that we ran in before at Texas. A little bit of a tailwind right now going towards turn 3 for these guys. Means they'll be changing gears. You can see 55 feet wide, 2 lanes here for certain going around this racetrack. It's going to be a fast show.
Jack, who are you looking for?
Watch for Buddy Rice. He's the guy that's going to win this race, but there's going to be some raw tempers. Guys are not happy.
Well, right now, I got to say, Vitor Meira, he's been strong all season, came in late. He's got the advantage of Honda and the Rahal Letterman team. A quiet guy, but he always places himself right at the very position at the end to win.
So now the field under the control of Buddy Rice, the blue and red 15 car, the pole sitter. And they're on the way. And one car in the waltz, that's Scott Sharp already. What could have happened there? Oh, man.
Stop, guys, we're all stopped. There's nothing I can do. We're all waiting, stop.
So Scott Sharp right off the top with a problem. The field was clean to start at the front. Jack, you were watching back there.
Sharp and Tora Takagi came together, Paul, and it was what I was alluding to. Right now, there's a lot of teams out here that are feeling the pressure to perform, to get up in the winner's circle. Scott Sharp's one of them. You can't rest. You can't lay back. You got to get up on the wheel, as they say, right away, even when they drop the green flag.
And you hit that right on the head, Jack, because right now these drivers know the best time to pass is generally when the cars are bunched together. And right there you can see Sharp accelerating, and you know something? Something went wrong, guys. It's like a half shaft broke or something happened on the car. It went directly sideways, or maybe just a bit too much power down. But, you know, we got traction control right now on these cars, so let's listen.
Oh, you heard something.
Yeah. Evidently something wrong, and the thing just turned sideways, and you become a passenger at that time, Paul. You just really can't do anything with it at all.
Well, he got through the shift with no problem. Here is Tora Takagi also involved in that coming in, and they'll have some work to do there, especially on the right front. But he made the shift good, and then you heard a noise. Sounded like maybe it could be a half shaft.
Doesn't really matter what caused the accident. What does matter is, yet again, Scott Sharp has come up on the short end in the performance side. And this is one of those teams I'm talking about that's still struggling, trying to figure out how do they get back to the winning percentages that made them one of the standout teams.
And you know, Jack, right now these guys are feeling very strong with each other. The engine and the driver really enjoy each other. The relationship is strong there. You know, Scott can't do anything except hold his foot flat on the gas around here, and speed's not there right now.
Well, Scott Sharp climbed out of the car and walked over here with both palms in the air and held his palms up to Tom Kelly. Very, very frustrated for a veteran driver like Scott Sharp, who's trying to get his helmet off. And Scotty, tough break at the start. What happened out there?
Oh, we all just got a run going, and all of a sudden everybody just stacked way up, and I was going to run in the back of someone, so I turned and it was on the brakes and just snapped on me, and everyone just stacked up on each other. It's a real shame for the Delphi team. We're looking forward to a top 10 result today.
A tough and very frustrated beginning for Scott Sharp. They're going to try to talk it over, maybe try to get this car repaired and get the Delphi machine back out, but heavy damage here on the drop of the green flag.
And that engine that you heard passing by was Dario Franchitti, who came into the pits. I'm assuming that what they want to do there is just make sure with the engine change that they have, in fact, everything plumbed well.
Well, the other side of that, Paul, too, is that maybe a fuel strategy is going to play in here right now. You're at the back of the queue because you have to start back there with the engine change. So the key thing right now, fill it up with fuel, and then maybe see how long you can run past the other guys.
Let's not forget that at Richmond, a fuel strategy that unfolded early, lap 12, when they were in the back. Richmond, last week, they were able to go back with his teammate, with Dan Weldon. They filled the tank. It was only a couple of gallons, but it ended up down the road at the end of the race, catapulting him to victory lane.
You know, and you and I talked about this before, Jack. With 4 cars, you can split the strategy up into so many different variables where other guys don't have that opportunity.
Scott, you were in the driver's meet, and you say tempers were on edge.
Tempers are on the very edge right now, Paul, from the simple fact it stems from Richmond. It's been carried over. There are some things that went on in practice here. Also, there was a separate drivers meeting after the prime meeting. That means no officials and no spotters in there, just the drivers and Brian Barnhart. I was lucky enough to attend, and he's really laid down the law. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen here today.
So here at mid-season, we start the race with a caution early on. Scott Sharp, Tora Takagi, and now we have Buddy Rice leading the field around behind Johnny Rutherford driving the pace truck. So at Kansas, it's going to make for an interesting afternoon. We mentioned already the possibility of fireworks, and right off the top, though unintentional, we do have them with Scott Sharp and his incident. Don't forget, the ABC British Open preview show takes a special look inside the world's most prestigious golf championship. You'll hear from Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, Tom Watson, Phil Mickelson, and many more. The British Open preview show next Sunday at 1 Eastern and Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, Kyle Moyer brought Dario Franchitti down pit road for a quick stop and a splash. Kyle, what's the strategy there?
Well, we're just trying anything. We're in the back of the pack with the RKX car, and we got to get up front. So if we can stay out longer, more power to us, but we got to get something to get the car up front because I think the car's pretty fast. We just got to get up there.
Well, guys, remember, fuel strategy worked last weekend at Richmond for Dan Weldon, their teammate.
Yeah, as long as you had the car back there, the only thing I did kind of wonder is why they didn't wait until the end of the yellow period and take advantage of what few miles they run. Tony Kanaan, who has been so dominant this season, And while we're watching Kanaan here, both Darren Manning and Jeff Simmons have made their stops.
Tony Kanaan, Scott Goodyear up in the booth. Very quick start there and a very quick yellow. What's it looking like out there?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a time to feel it out, but obviously you can see the Rahal guys starting to work together. So we'll see. I mean, looks a good day out there. Let's see what's going to happen.
Good to hear it. Finished 4th here last year, so good luck today.
Thank you.
Rahal guys working together. Kanaan's already figured it out that with Rice and Mira, it's going to be tough. You got to have a partner. You got to have a dance partner on a 1.5 mile speedway because the draft is important.
They're taking Tora Takagi's car behind the wall as well now. So just in that first few hundred yards, in fact, before they got to the start-finish line, problems, and it obviously has potentially affected 2 cars in this field. Here's a guy, Thomas Schechter, driving for the Pennzoil Panther team, who really needs to do something good today.
Paul, the interesting thing in my mind, knowing what goes on in race teams, you know, with the addition of Townsend Bell, you know, who's very strong, very aggressive, has been very quick here over the last day or so. You got to be thinking that maybe that's going to put a little pressure on Thomas and maybe on both teams, you know. And it's not that the blue team, the 2 team, the Nards team was down. It was just that they needed a better result. There's a lot of guys walking around with some good possibilities now.
And when you see a new teammate added to your team, you say to yourself, am I next?
That could be a possibility.
And it does create conflict within the team, or at least competition. So Buddy Rice has the field under control again and begins to pick the pace up as we're ready to go back to the green flag. 5 laps have already been logged into the record book. Green flag is out. Buddy Rice answers it. Look at Mira as he makes a quick move to the high side. Mira, the blue and white number 17 car. And wow, look at Kanaan. Kanaan comes sailing around. Rice picks up the lead. Now Mira begins working on Buddy Rice. Kanaan just pulls away. I'm surprised he had that.
Certainly, you take advantage of the start when you can, Paul. It's getting through the gearbox. So we see Mira right now drafting his teammate.
Outside, still outside.
Some great help from the spotters.
O'Meara and his teammate, Buddy Rice, the Indy 500 champion, battle with one another.
Still outside.
It's going to make Bobby Rahal and Dave Letterman happy to see this early on.
Still outside.
Well, what they're doing now, they're also using a lot of fuel side by side, Paul, so they need to slip in behind each other, and maybe they're getting that direction from the team right now and just try to tail on Kanaan, try and catch up with him.
We mentioned Thomas Schechter. He now goes side by side with Sam Hornick. Actually, there are 2 drivers that need a good result.
Outside.
Chevrolet power over the Toyota power there, just a little bit down the straight.
And as Schechter is able to clear Sam Hornish, here comes Elio Castroneves, Hornish's teammate. And Koski Matsura is tucked in right behind Castroneves in the 55 car.
You saw some sparks coming out from beneath these cars. Remember that there's a new rule where there's these titanium skid blocks. They rub against the pavement, and they set off the fireworks in their own right.
And this is one of the few tracks in the season as we look back at Adrian Fernandez, and he gets alongside of Bell. This is one of the few tracks that they allow covers on the brakes. It just helps the aerodynamics just a little bit.
The red and white car, Dan Weldon, remember at the top of our show, Dan told Todd Harris that he had some handling difficulties. Take a look at the move that he made, Paul, just about a lap and a half ago. Way down low, he goes below on the apron. That's his teammate. A little bit squirrely, but he had an accident. They just forgot to tell him.
I tell you what, he's a guy to talk to him. If you just met him in a crowd, you would have no idea that this is the same guy that is so aggressive on the racetrack. He's quiet, he's easygoing. As we mentioned earlier, he's a bit of a neat freak, but boy, he can race.
You know, in the driver's meeting, they talked about that hinge point on the bottom, that white line. And Jack, you get yourself down there and get those wheels caught, and you can just see the white lines, a very sharp angle. Remember, 15 degrees here.
Kosuke Matsura and Elio Castroneves. I've been telling you guys, you got to keep an eye on that 55 car. That's going to be in winner's circle sooner rather than later.
Those guys have a great rapport with Koski. You know, just being around him the other day at the airport, they're fooling with him and having just a great time with him. You know, he's very relaxed, but he's very serious, very fit, and he thinks he can win this year.
Todd Harris, what's up with Tora Takagi?
Well, a quick update from Mo Nunn. The front end is completely smashed. He said, we're very disappointed because the suspension is gone. Tora Takagi himself said from his vantage point, Scott Sharp has lost control. I had nowhere to go. And it's interesting as Mo Nunn now talks to JP Jasson, his driver from the Infinity Pro Series. Paul?
Well, that sounds like an accurate appraisal. There is Morris Nunn on the right side of your screen with a long, long history of successful racing and successful team ownership.
Guys, I'm beginning to wonder if Buddy Rice is doing what he's doing by design. Remember at Texas, right after the Indianapolis 500, Buddy Rice sandwiched himself right in behind Tony Kanaan, forced Kanaan to lead most of the race, trying to conserve fuel. Are we beginning to see the hand dealt right now?
Well, the whole fact that you're not seeing Mira come up and challenge once again after that little bout opening, that may be exactly what's going on. Jerry Punch?
And Jack, you are exactly right. A great call up there. That's exactly what Buddy Rice is doing. A moment ago, they were at fuel position number 2. They said go to 3, and now to 4. They're trying to conserve fuel, and as Paul Page said, the Vitor Mira car and Rice are drafting up on the 11 of Kanaan, both, though, saving valuable fuel.
Yeah, they're running 206 miles an hour, and that's 3 miles an hour slower than those cars qualified. So there is a little bit of conservation mode running at the front, if you can say that about a car running 206 miles an hour, as Tony Kanaan is now.
I guess, you know, if you say, what do you think of the 4th of July? I remember those hot summer nights with my parents as a kid, you know, with a blanket out on a big field watching these huge fireworks. It's dark out, everyone's barbecuing, hot dogs.
You know, regular stuff, you know, block parties and, you know, hot dogs and hanging out with friends and neighbors and family.
Well, when I was a kid, I grew up in the city of San Francisco, so I remember sitting up on the hill and watching the fireworks over the bay, over Alcatraz. And
basically, my father and I, we blew up a lot of stuff when I was a kid, so you know, I miss doing that.
Well, at Kansas Speedway, Tony Kanaan still the leader. You look back from Buddy Rice's car at his teammate Vitor Mira and the rest of the field. 24 laps complete at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 from Kansas Speedway. Rice was the pole sitter, and then Kanaan took over the lead. Tuesday night, this cop is so tough with a fuse so short, he makes Sipowicz look tame. And look out, because Tuesday, his fuse is lit on an all-new NYPD 24/7. Look at that lineup behind Buddy Rice's car. And, of course, only one car ahead. That belongs to Tony Kanaan.
But the car right behind that we're looking at, that is Buddy Rice's teammate. And right now, I think if I'm Vitor Mira, what I want to do is just tuck in there and cruise for a little while.
Well, for the most part, at the front of the field, that's exactly what everybody seems to be doing.
Well, they're back in the single file that we spoke about, saving fuel. We talked about them turning back the fuel trim to maybe get a few more laps out of that tank. That's what they're trying right now. But these guys won't keep the patience for long. They'll turn around and decide it's time to go.
Remember, Dario Franchitti, who started in the back of this field, is now up to 12. And, of course, he's already, though only slightly, out of sequence on fuel stop.
Tony Kanaan has been in this position before, not only on the racetrack, but also in position leading the points as we ride on board with Thomas Scheckter. And I do believe, guys, that for Thomas Scheckter right now, this is a make-or-break race. He's got to get a good finish in order to impress the Pennzoil Panther people.
In the meantime, he does have a new teammate in the person of Townsend Bell, who doesn't have that much experience on the ovals, but certainly has tremendous experience as a driver and will learn very quickly. Rice now begins to work on Tony Kanaan hard. We drop back to 10th place and Townsend Bell.
Look at that speed, guys. 211, 212. You get off the throttle, see how quick the speed goes down. 100% throttle, those lateral G's right there on this Firestone telemetry. And the tire temps, it's up in the green. That means the tire pressure and the tire temperatures are just perfect for what he's asking the car to do.
Townsend Bell said that his goal for this race is to just finish it and learn.
Yeah, it's a learning experience for Townsend Bell.
Kanaan, Rice, Mira, Honda, the top three. Then a Chevrolet with Thomas Schechter and Sam Hornish with a Toyota. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Back at Kansas Speedway, great battle up front. Tony Kanaan continues to lead, but Thomas Schechter is taking second spot by getting all he can handle from the Team Rahal partners of Buddy Rice and Vitor Mira. Now Thomas Schechter trying to make a move to the outside as we are down here in the Tony Kanaan pit. You know, we shared with you a story back in May that Tony Kanaan had visited a little girl and befriended her at Methodist Hospital, Andrea Brown of Decatur, Indiana. 15 years of age, she was comatose from a brain hemorrhage. The story gets better because Kanaan gave to her family his favorite Lucky Charm, a medallion that said, "Andrea needs this more than I do. I've had it around my neck from racing for years." Well, Andrea awoke from that coma 2 days later, and after 9 different surgical procedures, is back home today in Decatur, Indiana. She is watching this race, and last night I spoke with her mom and dad, and they told me, Pete and Sharon, that Andrea is so excited about what could happen with Tony Kanaan that she plans on possibly meeting Tony as early as next week to be able to return the medallion. It has done its work for her, and now she wants it to do its work for Tony, possibly for an IRL Indycar title, or maybe today a win here at Kansas Speedway. What a great story of a driver doing something, giving back off the racetrack.
Jerry, from the looks of things, Tony Kanaan may need that Lucky Charm because Thomas Schechter is working him hard and has been for the past several laps.
Clear.
At the same time, Dan Weldon, who started 13th, is now up in 5th place. And the front 5 all running right together.
And Paul, Weldon has been using the high side throughout the course of the race, trying to knock off cars. And that's the thing that we talk about in terms of aggressive driving. It's scary to be up that close to the wall at these speeds, but he says, what the heck, it's what I need to go to the front.
Rice cuts down on the inside of Schechter and takes second back away from him. There's the moves that Weldon has been making. Schechter comes right back at Rice. Todd Harris?
Well, Paul, the word from the Pennzoil crew is they don't want to lead. They don't want their man Thomas Schechter out in front. He's been tailing Kanaan for a while. They're saying Kanaan doesn't want to lead either, so he is slowing down. That's forcing Schechter to do likewise, but they're hoping that someone will take the lead and let Thomas Schechter sit behind draft and conserve some fuel. He's already dialed it down. He's looking for more. Paul?
And that's all part of the way the tacticians on the team have to look at this. As they try to space their stop, get the furthest distance possible in between stops so that they can be positioned well for the end.
And Paul, when they say about not wanting to lead, why do they not want to lead? Well, the car that's in front is using up more fuel than the cars that are behind, and that means he might not be able to go as long on a tank full of gas. A new rule here this year, 30 gallons of fuel, methanol fuel, aboard these cars. They used to run 35. We end up having to make more stops. Now, if it's green throughout this whole event, we might need as many as 4 stops. And these guys realize that. They're betting on a lot of yellows. A lot of team managers and owners I spoke to this morning said, you know, we've had a lot of yellows here in the past, and maybe the same today.
Last 2 laps, once again, Thomas Schechter went side by side with Buddy Rice. Someone this week, a big fan of Schechter, says we just got to get Thomas to concentrate solid all the way to the end of the race. So it's Kanaan. Rice now up behind Kanaan, then Schechter, then Vitor Mira, and Weldon. Again, now he comes up on the back end of the car of Vitor Mira.
Coming up, looking outside, coming outside.
Pancho Carter talking to Thomas Schechter, noting that the 17 car of Mira is still right there. 2 cars out of this run, right on the start. Scott Sharp and Tora Takagi got together. Looked like something happened to Sharpie's car, but both of them are out of competition.
Paul, the width of this racetrack is about the same as Interstate 435 that takes us here to Kansas Motor Speedway. But the last I checked, the 3 of us didn't come in at these speeds today.
2 of you. Scott came in on his own.
End at speed, boys.
Yeah, you were just fine.
You talk about the width of the racetrack, Jack. Watch when the cars come out of turn 2. Everybody dives towards the low side of the racetrack. They're running to protect the car. Now maybe we watch along with Herta. He comes off in the middle of the racetrack and follow this line. They go all the way down towards the white line on the left-hand side to protect the racetrack, the low line.
Herta currently 7th place. Tony Kanaan the leader, followed by Rice and Scheckter. So with potential pit stops coming up here shortly, will they stay in these positions, and what will the strategy be? We'll be back. At Kansas, we have a problem. Dan Weldon came in for his stop, tried to pull away, and he's literally pulled the fuel tank over as he started to pull away.
Well, that happened at Texas as well, and I believe it was with Tony Kanaan's crew where they couldn't get the fuel Buckeye, the vent Buckeye out. At least they were able to pull it out. In this case, Dan Weldon pulled away, and boy, that's a precarious position.
That's a dangerous situation there. That tank is still loaded. They've only pulled 30 gallons out of it when they refueled his car, and they've got to try to get it upright without it being a problem. At the same time, pit stops are going on all up and down the road. Vitor Mira is in. Let's go to Jerry.
Well, guys, Vitor Mira on pit road right in front of the leader, Tony Kanaan. They planned not a single change. Down and away in a great stop. Meanwhile, Tony Kanaan, 7-Eleven crew, waiting on him as he comes down pit road at 60 miles per hour. Kanaan pitting just down from where that tank was pulled over a moment ago by his teammate, Dan Weldon. Here's the 7-Eleven crew. Tony Kanaan has told Kim Green the car is perfect. They had a bit of a push early on, but the car has gotten very neutral. Great pit stop. Kanaan, 8 seconds, Kanaan is down and away.
So Tony Kanaan back into the fight as we go through green flag pit stops, and here is Buddy Rice, who picked up the lead, and we'll give the lead over to Brian Herta. Jerry?
Buddy Rice, the Indianapolis 500 winner, came in, and likewise, they were going to make a slight air pressure adjustment and opted not to. Buddy Rice said the car is getting great fuel mileage. Just put 4 fresh Firestorms on and get me out of here. Great stop for Buddy Rice.
But look at Brian Herta, who came in behind him as the leader of the race when he came in, and he gets out ahead of Buddy Rice. Sam Hornish is going to pick up the lead for the Penske team. We're on the 58th lap now. One thing we certainly have learned, Scott, is that the Chevrolets, as we watched Darren Manning on the pit road, they were the first to head for the pits.
Probably telling you there's not as good a fuel mileage right now with the Chevrolets as the Toyotas and Hondas.
Stop for Manning. Fuel goes in. The tires are done. Now the fuel's done. But we're not rolling. Must have one.
You notice the guy in the back right below the wing there. He had to restart the car.
So they had to get that engine restarted.
Paul, I'm not sure, but I think when they added the external starter, I think what happened is Darren Manning ended up twisting the arm of the guy that was holding the starter.
Now watch this. This is Weldon. Look at the rear of the car. They did not get the fuel or the vent hose disconnected, literally pulled the tank over.
And why didn't the fuel come pouring out of that? There's what's called a dead man's valve on all of these tanks, and when it pulls away that way, one guy's in charge to pull that dead man's valve, seals up that tank, and just at least keeps a lot of the methanol contained.
In fact, there are a couple of different mechanisms to make sure that you don't get a spill there, and they all worked perfectly and avoided what could have been a horrific moment. We'll take you back as far as when they had a fire at the Michigan 500 years ago. Almost all the fuel in the tank ended up burning. Todd Harris?
Well, Paul, you're exactly right. It could have been a complete disaster down here. I just talked to Mike Landretti, team owner of Andretti Green Racing. He said he didn't actually see it. All he saw was the tank tip over. Fortunately, the fuel was contained. The safety crew is here. Water is all over the ground now. There's one piece of the pipe that they've got to fix, but they're confident they can get that done before Dan Weldon has to come back in.
And if there is good news with methanol, and there are several items that make it good news, one of them is that it dilutes with water. So all you have to do is pour a bucket of water on it, and it won't ignite, at least not as easily. The one thing that'll do for Weldon and his team, the winner of the race just 1 week ago, is you now have to figure out what the calculations are, because those tanks are very carefully leveled, and if they don't get it right back in position, they may not in fact know what the calculations are. At the front of the field, here is Vitor Mira, the blue and white car number 17, charging the leader early on, and the man who was able to keep the lead through the early stop, the first stop of the race, That's Tony Kanaan, the current points leader.
You are going to see some new enthusiasm from that blue and white Vitor Meira car, because now that he knows that he's got all but a full-time ride, as Centrix has signed on and he's been informed that it's not race to race anymore. Vitor told me it allows me to drive a little bit more aggressively than I have in the past. I said, how can you be more aggressive than you have been?
And Jack, I spoke to him after the drivers' meeting. They said they were lost a little bit this weekend, but they did run well, made some big changes for the race, expected the car to be very strong, and certainly is happening now.
And as they crossed the line, last lap around, Meira had his nose ahead of Kanaan, was scored with the lead of that lap. And now he's going to try to capitalize on that. Speeds at 208 miles an hour.
Meira thought he was going to be spending his season racing for his friend, Helio Castroneves, in Brazilian stock cars. Well, when he got the ride in the Rahal Letterman car for Indycar Series competition, he called up Helio and said, "You're not my boss anymore."
Looking further back in the field now. Adrian Fernandez runs alone at the moment, but he's been closing on the yellow number 4 of Thomas Scheckter, who's closing on Buddy Rice.
Now, I spoke to Adrian just yesterday, asked him how he liked his first experience at Richmond, and he said, I can't believe how many laps go by in a short space of time. He says, I was just almost like being a little bit dizzy. You come here, it seems like you got forever and a day as you go around this racetrack.
And of course, the run at Richmond was just spectacular. Now the front of the field begins to close, as does this battle, which is really a battle developing for third place. And Meira had to give way back to Kanaan, but he continues to sit right there and worry him. He's probably in the better position if, in fact, he's going to get a little more distance out of this stint, pit stop to pit stop. Kanaan, second race in his career that Vitor has led. Will he do it again? We'll find out. IRL, IndyCar Racing, Kansas Speedway, the Argent Mortgage Indy 300. And Vitor Meira was just able to ease the way around Tony Kanaan and into first place as the leaders begin for the first time today to thread their way through traffic. Here's how I did it.
Just on the high side. If you're going to pass people around here, it's always on the high side, guys. Everybody protects the low side. You got to set your car up to work high.
And in this chess game that IRL racing has become, you wonder if that's because he's doing better or because the team said, look, why don't we not let Tony lead, or Tony's team said, maybe we shouldn't be leading. He just goes around Jeff Simmons. That's the replacement for Al Unser Jr. in that number 20 Patrick car.
Well, if you look at the race pace, Paul, it's picked up again. We're at over 208, almost 209 miles an hour. I think Vitor Meira says, I got plenty of fuel. Todd Harris?
Well, Jack, you get a good look at Dan Weldon's fuel tank here. The problem is they've lost elevation on it. When he pulled away, he pulled a few of the stanchions out. So the tank is not as high, and they don't have the right angle on it. So when he comes in, they're saying now they're going to have to pump fuel slower, which at a pit stop is just sudden death. The other problem is he did not get a full fuel load when he came in and had that mishap. So the problem here is they don't know how much fuel they got in, and they're going to probably have to pit again out of sequence, which is going to put him back. Paul?
Yeah, well, they kind of have to make an assumption, and you can see down there on the left front, well, you could have seen down there on the left front of the tank, the one adjustable leg was bent when that thing came over. And that will no doubt have an impact on all of his stops. You have to assume, I would think, that he got all the fuel in if it was in fact flowing when they were getting ready to pull. They just didn't get the hose pulled in time. Vitor Meira, he's one of the great stories this year. He's had a couple opportunities in the IRL, sat on the pole at Texas a couple of years ago, but he's just as polite, as quiet, as nice as it comes.
Very soft-spoken, Paul, but for Vitor Meira, you know, he may have hobbies of squash and swimming, but the thing that's most important to him is to perform here in IndyCar racing. And he showed up at Rahal Letterman's doorstep when they announced they were going to field a second car. It's 6:30 in the morning, and Bobby Rahal said, hey, if he could figure out how to get to Columbus, Ohio, let's give him a shot.
And he scored a second at Richmond a week ago, though there was a contested finish there. Yellow light came on as they were running the final lap, and Mira was passed by Casper Nevis, but they went back one lap. Very fair thing to do. Instead, Mira finished there in second place. Jerry Punch.
And Paul, that finish at Richmond is what's going to secure a bright future for Vitor Mira here in the Indy Racing League. Why? Because this man right here, Bob Sutton, he's the CEO of Centrex Financial. He had signed on for 4 races. Because of what he saw at Richmond with Mira, he said, I'm here for the rest of the year. And what that led is the man back there, Bobby Rahal, to tell Vitor Mira this morning, Vitor, you are in this car for the remainder of the year, and we have first right of refusal for you all next year. Your future is secure. Vitor Mira, very bright, certainly trying to even secure it even more by leading and possibly winning here in front of all the brass at Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, that Bob Sutton, the guy you saw, the fellow who put the sponsorship on that car, as we take a look at Brian Herta, currently in 6th place. Sutton was one of my teammates in the Baja 1000 this last year, and all he did for 11 hours around a campfire was talk about racing and how he was thinking about Indy. Well, he's now thought about it big time. Brian Herta, man who won here 1 year ago with a very tactical run.
As it was getting down close to the end, guys started pitting and we were getting close on fuel, and we were really starting to worry, and I caught Robbie Buell, started drafting off of him and just running Robbie's pace. That enabled me to lift a lot more on the straights, and that saved enough fuel. That probably made the difference.
He may be able to do it. He may be able to do it. He can do it. And Brian Herta takes his first win in the Indy Racing League.
That was unbelievable because, I really thought probably I wasn't going to race Indy cars anymore at that point in my career. And, this kind of opportunity dropped in my lap with a top team, and then boom, we win a race 3rd time out. And, it did hit me. I always make fun of guys crying because, guys aren't, race car drivers are supposed to be tough. You're not supposed to be out there crying. And I cried a little bit after the checkered flag. It was very, very emotional. Certainly in my career, I would say that to date is definitely the high point.
And Paul, at the end of the season, Brian wasn't sure whether he would get a shot with Andretti Green Racing or not. In fact, when Rahal Letterman called to see if he might be interested in replacing Kenny Brack as Kenny recovered from his terrible injuries at the last race at Texas Motor Speedway, he wasn't sure. Should I go there, or should I hold out and hope that Michael Andretti could repay him for the win here? I think he made the right decision.
Oh, he made a great choice. And in fact, that team this year, they are just in such good shape. They all enjoy one another. Herta's the prankster in the whole thing. Bobby Rahal watches Buddy Rice in 3rd. Is he going to stay there? Well, happy 4th of July and welcome back to the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 at Kansas Speedway. I'm Paul Page with Jack Arute and Scott Goodyear up top. A good look here at this 17 car. You really saw it make its first prominent appearance at the Indianapolis 500. It's now leading here. Vitor Mira is at the wheel, and he has turned at least 3 laps faster than he qualified in the past few laps. He qualified at 2:09.3. He's been running 2:10.6, and in fact, 9 of the top 12 fastest laps today belong to Mira. Dan Weldon on the pit road. Now remember the issues down here.
And Paul, we watched Dan Weldon. Looks to be a flawless stop thus far. The fuel tank that pulled over earlier, no problem whatsoever. They are being very deliberate, as you might expect. They do get it full of fuel, and he's down and away.
That comes at the 99th lap, so you would assume that that's a little bit early. They're playing it safe, Scott?
Well, the key thing, Paul, is we don't know if all the fuel got in the tank when they actually had that problem on the last pit stop, and you want to go on the side of caution and make sure you can actually refill and then start from fresh, and that's probably what they've done.
There's Buddy Rice, the 15 car. You're on board with him now. The pole sitter here, just like he was when he won the Indy 500. He's in 2nd place, and he's had a pretty good battle going most of the day with Tony Kanaan. First for the lead, Tony Kanaan then took the lead over, and then Vitor Mira came up from 3rd and took the lead, and that's where he sits right now. Take you back to Scott Dixon running in 11th place. There he is. We'll take a look at the Firestone telemetry.
Scott Dixon, one of the cars that's driving with the Toyota power plants that have fallen on some tough times this season. And they came, the Target Chip Ganassi team and the Penske team, with a new addition to the Toyota power plant, Scott, in the injectors. And while it's benefited Penske, when I talked to Mike Hull for Target Chip Ganassi, he said they've had such chassis problems this weekend that they haven't been able to find out if that new injector system was good.
And you talk about the chassis, Jack, and you know, this track is a little different than, say, the Texas track where we were with 24-degree banking, which makes up for maybe a car that's not working as well. 15-degree banking here, a little flattered. The car has to work well. Combination of, obviously, horsepower and handling.
You know, when I look at Vitor Meira here leading this race, it's like a major breakthrough. Now that he has in his own mind that he has a full-time ride, it's kind of like when Drew Bledsoe was traded from the New England Patriots, and they said, all right, Tom Brady, we know you were a deep, late-round draft pick, but the team is yours. I think this was good for Vitor Meira.
Anthony Foyt, famous car number 14 on the pit road. He's had a good weekend, currently running 16th, but he had a nice qualifying run and a good run a week ago at Richmond. Race record here is at 178 miles an hour. Right now they're averaging 185 miles an hour. Rice comes alongside Weldon. Not a battle for position. Weldon just had that stop. That puts him a lap under.
Now what Weldon's going to try and do, Paul, is to keep in front of everybody that he can.
Foyt left with a hose still connected to the car. Well, that's two issues on stops today.
Well, that's a disappointment. That's the air hose that goes into the jack system that helps lift the car up off the ground. Spoke to him in the driver's meeting. He said, I think we're going real well this weekend, maybe a top 10. It's not going to happen for them now.
Remember, it's not just the drivers that feel the pressure to perform these days. Crews know it too.
They're going to give him a penalty as he comes in. They'll pull that hose off of there, but then they'll hold the car in all likelihood.
Generally a 10-second penalty. Once the car stops, they'll count the clock. You see the official right there in the front, right there in the white suit. Once he stands aside, then you're clear and free to go.
And they are concerned to the side of the car, though, because it looks like part of that nozzle may, in fact, have wedged in there or be broken at its input point. So with Foyt on his way out, Vitor Meira drops in off of the lead, and Buddy Rice picks up the lead. Jerry?
And they warned Vitor Meira about watching the speed on pit road. It is 60 miles an hour, and the Centrex team machine is in for Bobby Rahal. Vitor Meira, 4 tires, a slight air pressure adjustment, we are told. They want to get it completely full of fuel because they can make it on one more stop. He stalls the car. He stalls the car. They're going to try to get it fire. And now Tony Ganon is down and away, and Meira is justified.
Finally, they get him going. Boy, that is 2 miscues in that Andretti Green team. And here is Thomas Scheckter. He just may be out of fuel. He's over in turn 4. And it looks like he's just limping his way in.
52 laps, guys, since the last stop for them. And they told me earlier this morning, 48, maybe 52. So there's the tail right there.
And Buddy Rice from the lead is on the pit road as well. Jerry?
And guys, Buddy Rice is getting outstanding fuel mileage. Keep that in the back of your mind. He could probably have gone 4 or 5 more laps. They come in and will put a routine 4-tire stop in him. Remember, he's making a 1 more stop only. Buddy Rice, the last of the leaders to make this pit stop.
No problems for the Rahal Letterman team. Buddy Rice comes back into action. In the meantime, Scott Dixon and Darren Manning have both stopped, and Thomas Scheckter has finally made it into his pit. Todd Harris?
Well, Thomas Scheckter, you're exactly right. It looked like he came in short on fuel. They're holding him now, and this pit stop is going in excess of 20 seconds. So Scheckter, who was working, Andy Brown, who's calling the race for him, sent a message down to the pit next to them, Adrian Fernandez. They were running 4 and 5, and he said, let's work together and get ourselves back up to the leaders. Let's draft together and conserve some fuel. Unfortunately, it did not work for Thomas Scheckter. That pit stop goes 35 seconds.
So Scheckter kills it coming out of the pits. Hornish comes in. That's a tell that it in fact was a fuel problem because it just They pumped it all out, and they had to get the fuel lines full again.
And it's not that it's necessarily stalling, it's just that the engine's actually not picked itself back up now. So this is just something that's going to continue here until the motor gets up to revs.
Clear to the path, clear to the path.
Haven't you guys ever run out of fuel? The most difficult thing is to get a car refired, even if it's your passenger car.
So Hornish stops, Schechter stops, the leaders all stop. And as Hornish comes back up to speed, the lead will go back to Tony Kanaan, who led the early going after getting around the pole sitter, Buddy Rice. Well, now it looks like there's possibly just one more stop to go before the end of this 200-lap, 300-mile run. And it looks like much of this field will be able to make it to that stop and then sprint for the finish. We'll see when we come back. You ride right now with 6th place Dario Franchitti at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, Kansas Speedway, the IRL, the Indycar Series.
And Paul, watch along here. See all the lights that are coming on the steering wheel? That's the RPMs. They come from green to yellow to red, tells the driver when to shift, and he gets more information down here. A little difficult to see the fuel mileage that he's getting and lap times. When those lights ascend all the way up and then they illuminate and it shifts up to another gear.
And after that round of stops, Tony Kanaan is able to work out a lead over Buddy Rice in second. Vitor Mira, Rice's teammate, is third, and that may in fact help several of the situations, because Mira can help Buddy Rice in terms of getting a little better fuel mileage. Darren Manning, the 10 car.
Darren Manning taking a lot of flack the last couple of weeks because of his driving style as Buddy Rice goes to the inside of him. You know what his nickname is? And he used to actually have the logo on the back of his helmet, Danger Mouse.
Well, Jack, it's interesting you mentioned that. I saw just before the drivers' meeting started this morning a little confrontation between Alex Barron and Darren Manning. They obviously weren't very happy with each other, and I think it's maybe one of the things that prompted Brian Barnhart to hold that second very private meeting. But a lot of heat going on right now. As you mentioned, the drivers have a lot of pressure on them to try and perform.
Rice and Kanaan at the front of the field, and Buddy Rice comes back to the front, running laps at 209 miles an hour, the same pace essentially that they used to qualify.
Yeah, seesawing back and forth. This is an important race for Buddy Rice. Let's face it, his sponsor of the car is also the sponsor of this race. And you know what the president of the company did, Argent Mortgage? When Buddy Rice won the Indianapolis 500, he told Buddy, look, I'll buy you any car in the world, anything you want. You think he'd ask for a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, exactly, right? No, he's got his eyes on a 1949 Mercury.
That's
going to make it a hot rod.
That is Buddy.
The president of Argent Mortgage still can't get over it.
So it's Rice, Kanaan, Mira, Herta, the top four right now. Some uncharacteristic miscues on pit stops, though, out of the Andretti Green team. Here is Felipe Giafone. He runs down in the field out of the Dreyer Reinbold team. And Robbie Buell is spotting for him. Robbie, who retired this year after putting that team together and running with it for a while. And Robbie is a fascinating man from the charity side. Every race he goes to, he makes sure he goes by a children's hospital. It's called Racing for Kids. On Thursday, Robbie Buell and Felipe Giafone, the driver of the number 24 Aventus Purex car, made a trip to the University of Kansas Medical Center to visit with some very special young fans. Robbie, the team owner and former IRL driver, has been the national spokesman for Racing for Kids since 1990 and has helped raise and donate over $3 million. Thursday, along with Jerry Bell of Aventus, they donated $2,500. During each stop on the IRL circuit, Robbie and Felipe take time to visit the children's hospitals and to sign autographs, give away hats, recruit new fans, and make new friends. To date, they have visited over 240 hospitals in 5 countries and 14,000 young patients.
It's a great thing, you know, that Robbie's been doing for 15 years. And I've been, since I joined the team, I've been doing this every race. So, and it's really something, you know. I mean, you get on the kids' face, you can see that they really enjoy, and when they're asleep or something, we get to enjoy their parents. So it's good anyway.
Dallas Mavericks owner that's also a big IndyCar Series
fan. An enormous
fan.
So at the front of the field, it is Buddy Rice, followed by Kanaan and his teammate Vitor Meira, then Adrian Fernandez and Brian Herta. And that little group back there, starting with Fernandez, there he is in the 5 car, has been an interesting little seesaw battle.
You know, Fernandez has moved his way through, but also with Meira, it's very interesting to see that he's now closed off about 2 seconds in these last 5 or 6 laps on the leaders.
Leads the newbies. The best performance is by Adrian Fernandez, who, by the way, now that Al Jr. has stepped out of the cockpit, at age 41 is the oldest guy in the field. But the difference for Adrian Fernandez is he's involved in a very stringent strength and conditioning program that makes him, I think, probably just as strong and just as good as the average 20-year-old, kind of like you, Paul.
Exactly, and that whole little group, by the way, there, with the exception of the Red Bull Team Cheever car, they're all racing right together. Franchitti, Matsura, Catherine Nevis, and they've been back and forth at that. And since we mentioned the car of Carpenter that's in the middle of that, he and his teammate Alex Barron, the highest 2-place Chevrolets in the field, but they're 11th and 12th. Chevrolet doesn't appear to have the power here today that it needs.
Well, Paul, Chevrolet's hopes, I think, went out with Thomas Schechter with that miscue that the fuel mileage had, and then also the pit stop or whatever on there, because he was running up to the 3rd, 4th, obviously almost led there for a while. So looks like Chevrolet maybe has some answers for all the power from Honda.
In fact, the top of the field, 1st through 6th, all are Hondas on this, the 139th lap of the Argent Mortgage Indy 300 from Kansas Speedway. Highest Toyota is in 7th place, and then another Honda, then another Toyota. And you've got to get down to 11th before you get to those Chevrolets. Teammates Herta and Franchitti go side by side. Fernandez just ahead of them. Todd Harris.
Well, talking about the rookies, Jeff Simmons, who is stepping in for Al Unser Jr., and those are some big racing shoes to fill. He said that he is just letting the race come to him. His people are very happy with the race he's running, and he's just taking it easy. Meanwhile, Townsend Bell, here's a guy who's had some problems right now. He came in early in the race because the fire extinguisher went off in the cockpit. They thought they had it fixed and cleaned up. He came back in a lap later because it was still going off. They got that problem rectified, sent him back out, and the radio button came off on the next lap. All things, though, are good now. He says the car is running great.
Yeah, that's got to be a bit startling. There's Jeff Simmons, the 20 car, the Pat Patrick stable, and Al Unser Jr. retires this week, and he's up on top of this grandstand. There he is. He's spotting for Jeff Simmons. So, and Tony George there, the founder and the leader in the IRL.
I think Tony's up there just to make sure that Al does it right. You know, I asked Al yesterday, do you know what a good spotter does? And he says, no, I think I'm going to learn over the course of this race.
Well, of course, through the 22 years of his open wheel career, you think about it, only recently are the spotters something that they have on top of the grandstand. He had to do most of his career without the benefit of anybody counseling him, and I'm not so sure he didn't like it better that way. And the drivers themselves, well, we asked them, what do you think of Al Unser Jr.?
You want me in a few words to tell you what I think about Al Unser Jr. retiring?
Because I remember when I was like 12 years old and just trying to get an autograph from little Al, and he's had a remarkable career.
Well, I think Al's retiring too young, personally. You know, it seems a bit of a trend right now in our sport, open wheel racing, to be doing that. But you know, I think in a good car, Al can go out and win a race right now.
Al will go down in American racing as one of the great drivers.
He was one of the guys that, you know, no matter what, you could go in a corner side by side. You knew somehow you're both going to make it out the other end.
I remember sitting on the couch with my father watching him race, and you know, he's dominated in a lot of series, and be a lot of memories there for everybody forever.
How did I pass 10?
300 continues.
At Kansas Speedway, nice little fight for second place just developing. Rice is the leader, about 2 seconds ahead of this, but Meira just worked his way around Tony Kanaan and picked up second place. Dan Weldon has already made a pit stop. We assume that that's smart just to go a little early, but we accept spots just any time now.
Pit stops are coming up, Paul. One of the reasons why Mira may have made that pass is in order to be in sequence so that he can pit on pit road with his teammate, not have somebody in front of him slowing him down to that 60-mile-an-hour speed limit.
It's been a remarkably smooth day. We had a miscue at the start that took out Scott Sharp and Tora Takagi, but we've been green flagged since then down to this, the 154 of 200 laps here. A.J. Foyt, the fourth. Anthony just made his stop. He's had a nice clean day running, and we've had a seesawing battle at the front of the field, but right now it's Buddy Rice from Phoenix, Arizona, that number 15 car, the Indianapolis 500 pole sitter and champion, who is leading two Brazilians and the man from Mexico, Adrian Fernandez.
And Paul, we're talking about the last pit stops. Very important for the drivers and teams here. Any changes they want on the car have to be done in this last stop. Tire pressures, wing adjustments. The drivers will be talking with the engineers, trying to come up with a plan to make the car the best it can be for the run to the finish.
Buddy Rice, well, we know who he is. We think him of as the Indianapolis 500 champion. But who does he think he is?
Buddy Rice from Phoenix, Arizona. I like cruising whether it's 220 in an Indycar or only slightly slower on my motorcycle. I love hitting the hills of Arizona on my mountain bike. I am king of the mountain. Racing is a state of mind, an attitude which I have in spades. No matter what kind of car I drive, it's got to have lots of horsepower and be able to smoke the tires. Buddy Rice, extreme athlete, extremely fast.
And now we're beginning to see the first of the pit stops. Buddy Rice should be in shortly. Already Alex Barron has been in and out. We mentioned Anthony Foyt was in and out, as was Dan Weldon a few laps ago. Now Dario Franchitti's team is laid out, and Scott Dixon is in. But most importantly is this car, the guy who has the fastest lap of the day and the target fastest lap at 210, Vitor Meira. Jerry Punch?
This should be the final pit stop for the 27-year-old Brazilian. 4 tires, no changes. Let's listen in to this Ray Hall Letterman crew as they make this final stop.
He gets nipped at the line by Scott Dixon. Now here's Dario Franchitti, and he gets away smoothly. Franchitti's teammate Brian Herta is on the pit road. Also, Ed Carpenter makes his stop down at the Red Bull stable. And Buddy Rice.
Ricardo here all the way down. Come around Kanaan, guys.
From the lead, Buddy Rice comes in, and Tony Kanaan, who's in second place, comes in with him.
Okay, round that much.
Two important instructions there. Reset the fuel and pit lane speed off. When you finish well in a race, you get the pit up near the front. He doesn't have to worry about exceeding the speed before he gets out on the pit line.
Adrian Fernandez came in third place, and he's on the roll as well. All of these stops will have the cars fueled for a run to the finish.
It looked like a nominal stop for Buddy Rice, but go back and take a look at the way he came onto pit road. It was a lot closer than you think. Downshifted. Oh, went by the timing and scoring lights. But, you know, you can't make a mistake if you're going to win a race. And Buddy Rice avoided a big mistake there.
And here is Helio Castroneves, who picked up the lead car for the Penske team. And right behind him is Sam Hornish in the order. Todd?
Helio's coming in, as Paul pointed out. This is going to be probably his last pit stop on the day. Looks like they're going just with fuel and tires, try to get him out of here in sub 10 seconds, and they do it.
And Sam Hornish comes in the pit just ahead of him. He got the car in at a bit of an angle. Great service. Sam kicks the back end around, and he comes back to the fight. But in all of that, Buddy Rice picks the lead up again.
And Paul, a year ago, people thought Sam Hornish was going to be the next great American race driver. But since then, going to Team Penske, that hasn't been the case. The guy we're looking at, Buddy Rice, is the one that's commanded all the attention.
And the order at the front remains pretty much the same as before we went into these stops. Rice, Mira, Kanaan, Fernandez, and Franchitti.
And this land is my land. And the California.
We're at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, the IRL IndyCar Series, and you ride with the leader of the race, Buddy Rice.
I asked Buddy Rice what characterizes this team that he drives for, and he immediately said chemistry. He said the key is I can go to the engineers, and I'm on such a great page with them. I can tell them what the car is doing. They'll understand what I mean, not what I say. 30 minutes later, they not only have fixed it, but they've made the car better. He says that's what's made this team emerge so strong this season.
Okay, buddy, let's try slot 2, and we'll watch the lap time here.
Important matches there, slot 2. That would be for their fuel, so they're probably at spot number 1, full fuel. If they go to spot 2, that means it's going to run a little leaner, maybe less horsepower. Watch the times. That means they're going to watch the speed to see if the car slows down again.
Oh, you can bet that between like engineer Todd Boland and Ricardo Nulls, the chief mechanic, they are really starting to try to think this thing out and figure out exactly how to get that car in front to the finish. So much tactically happens back in the pit area.
You see now that Mira's gone past the 2 lap cars that were there. Rice was able to pull away. Probably knew that Mira was closing. See, Mira now no longer has a lap cars in front of him. He's leading that pack of 3 cars. The only thing he can see in front of him right now is Buddy Rice.
Scott, you picked Mira. I picked Rice. You want to change? Re-bracket?
No, sir. I'm here. We see Fernandez there. I noticed on that last set of pit stops, Fernandez in that green car. Masura came in with no fuel. I think he went down about 3 laps running out of fuel.
Things have been getting really dicey for Kosuke Matsura and Jeff Simmons. They're the 2 cars directly in front, and Simmons on the left a little. You're not supposed to be able to rub wheels like that, guys, but these speeds are with open wheel cars, but they do it every week.
Yep, they do it regularly. Simmons probably could do with a little good spotting there, wouldn't you think? Allinger Jr. is his spotter. He needs to let him know that he's there so that he doesn't drift over. Look over at Adrian Fernandez. Comes up behind Matsura. They're going to try to split Simmons. Well, this is getting a little tense. They all sorted out, though.
Adventurous to make it 3 wide on the entrance to the turn, but right now Fernandez knows he's got to get past this group of cars. He wants to set his sights on Kanaan.
25 laps to go to the finish now. They're all beginning to feel that checkered flag approaching and doing what they can to try to get in a good position for that final run to the finish. It's Buddy Rice, the Indy 500. Oh! Whoa! And that ended up against the wall. Big time. And very predictable. And very suddenly. And we've had such a clean race to this point. So now Matsura and Jeff Simmons get together.
We talked about 3 wide. You can do that, but when you get into the turns, you got to give a little space to the other guys. Relieve your foot off the throttle.
You know, Simmons had a good run at Indy, jumped in there and finished 16th. His spotter looking on, Allinger Jr. Probably thinking, well, I'm glad it isn't me this time. So our second caution of the day comes out. This one for an incident as well. The first incident was on the start of the race when Tora Takagi and Scott Sharp got together, and now you've got Kosuke Matsura and Jeff Simmons together in some very close racing. Boy, look at the damage to that thing.
Well, it looks like damage, but remember that these cars are built like a deformable structure. Everything you see there that's all collected up just absorbs all the impact. See that? 3 wide, the guy in the middle just did not have enough room.
They were very lucky. You're lucky when you touch wheels like that, you don't launch the car.
Yeah, it started with Kosuke being up top, just trying to pinch down. You've got to think of it as a highway, 3 lanes. As soon as you touch tires like that, there's nothing except you're a passenger.
And Scott, what about experience for the guy in the middle there that replaced Al Unser Jr. in that red car? He's not been put in this situation before, and maybe he wasn't able to make the proper adjustment.
Well, you know, I don't know, Jack. I mean, it's heart rate right now. His heart rate's going to be high, but when you're in the middle, you can't go high and you can't go low. Kosuke really just need to give a little bit more space up there on the top to allow those guys to have the room on the bottom.
Well, and you also can't get on the brake either, because if you do, you're inviting that situation.
Well, he probably eased off the throttle just a little bit. You saw the two cars fall back, but certainly a situation you don't want to be with your first time in the car. And I spoke to those guys before the race. They said, we just need to finish. We just need to get a finish underneath us here.
There's Kotsky Matsura out of the car, obviously okay. A moment ago you saw Clive Hall and Al Unser Jr. talking. Clive spots for the Penske team along with Tom Wirtz and has spotted Al Unser Jr. quite a bit in his career at Penske. So Buddy Rice leads under the caution, but they're going to group up now. Will he be able to stay there? Pretty major cleanup here at Kansas Speedway now after Kotsky Matsura got together with Jeff Simmons, and there's Simmons' car on the hook heading back in. For Kotsky Matsura, that's the first time that he's seen the wall. They're both rookies, of course, and Matsura was leading the rookie points fight.
And Paul, right now you have to think about what these guys happen. Three of them going to the turn at the same time. You have to leave room. And here we are with Townsend Bell right now, leaving the pits in a very hurry. Just getting on the gas a little bit too much. Remember, you got about 700 horsepower there you're going to unleash, and that tells me that probably his traction control is not working right now for him.
Yeah, get out of the way. You saw the guys all dive for cover there. You've done that a few times.
Yeah, but can any one driver have as many misfortunes as Townsend Bell has today? Fire extinguisher going off, that near miss. I think this is a guy that wants to see this race end as soon as possible. Think about it before we get to Nashville in 2 weeks.
And by the way, in the Cialis Western Open, which is coming up next, Tiger has now moved to within 3 of the leaders. So fireworks here. There's going to be some fireworks there as well. Caution continues. They certainly will get this thing back ready to run. Jerry Punch, what's Bobby Rahal thinking? His guys are looking good.
Well, Paul, let's ask him here. Let's see, Bobby Rahal, you got your Buddy Rice leading and Vitor Mira running second. How difficult is that on you?
Well, that's the way we work for, so I don't have any difficulty with that. You know, it's every man for himself out there, but the rule number 2 is don't take each other out, so we'll see.
How about the fact that Buddy has already won and Vitor is trying to scrap for that very first victory? You got to sort of give sentimentally a shot his way.
Well, you know, Buddy's in the hunt for the championship, so you say, well, yeah, I hope he wins. But like you say, for Vitor, it'd be his first win, so, I mean, I think you can argue the case either way.
Bobby Rahal trying to stay neutral here in the pits, is watching his two cars run first and second. Let's check in down with Todd Harris.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Here with Michael Andretti Green. This yellow flag coming with 20 laps to go changes your strategy completely?
Not a lot. It helped Dan a little bit because I think he would have lost a lap because of the problem he had in pits. He was going to have to make another pit stop, so it helped Dan a little, but it's going to make it a little interesting with the shootout, but I'm not sure. I mean, Rahal cars are running pretty good today, so it's going to be pretty tough.
All right, let's send back up to Paul.
Well, when we return, we'll have a chance to recap all of this. It has been a fascinating and fast run today. Still more to come after this message and a word from our ABC station. Now we're back at Kansas Speedway. The Argent Mortgage Indy 300, the IRL IndyCar Series. They just about have the track back to green and ready to go. We were averaging at 178.6 miles an hour before this incident that brought out the caution and is going to set up a fantastic sprint to the finish here. Now let's go back and take a look at what has happened here today. It began right at the start when Scott Sharp lost it, got into the wall and into Tora Takagi, taking both cars out of competition. No injuries there. Then Dan Weldon pulled his fuel tank over, leaving just a little bit early. Fortunately, the crew was okay with that one. Tony Kanaan and Buddy Rice, the pole sitter, battled back and forth constantly. And then just a few moments ago, Jeff Simmons and Kotsky Matsura in close formation flying take it right into the wall. And that's set up our situation right now as we're getting down very close to coming back from the yellow flag, going back to green for the final 10, 11 laps of the run.
Paul, I don't care what Bobby Rahal said to Dr. Jerry Punch. He wants this car to win because the sponsor of the race is the sponsor of the car. He's pulling for Buddy Rice.
Yeah, I'm pulling though.
Gas lights are out, track lights are on.
I'm pulling right now for that guy in second place, Mira. One for Bob, one for Vitor, and one for me. I'd like to see him do some good.
Right now, guys, it's down to the drivers. There's no mistakes allowed right now. On the gas, get your gear shifts crisp and start. Make sure you make no mistakes coming up to this green flag.
Well, guys, the word just came down from Bobby Rahal to his two drivers, 1 and 2. He said, quite simply, the best man wins.
No team orders there. But with that is the implicit be careful. Momentum at this point is critical. Coming back to this start, Dan Weldon, you see him there on the edge of the screen, the red and white car. He's not in the fight. It's the first two and then the separation back to Tony Kanaan.
Now you see Weldon gets out of the way. He'll have to let the teammate go by, Tony Kanaan, to have a shot at these guys at the front. See how he's high right now?
In the actual order, it's Kanaan, then Fernandez. Sam Hornish in there is not on the lead lap. Wright still leads it at the line.
Paul, here's
still trying to come on.
Paul, here's a key pass for the 7-Eleven car. Got by Weldon, his teammate, a lap down. Now there's the front three cars can go after it all by themselves.
The bad news for guys like Herta and Fernandez is that there's a lot of other lap traffic that's in there running with them.
Remember, we heard the guys say during the pit stops and during this yellow that there's only a fuel setting of 1 right now, maximum horsepower, no fuel conservation needed for the remainder of the race.
But look at Vitor Mira. Vitor's looking to the outside. He's been making moves on the outside all day in the blue and white car that's right in the middle of your screen there. Second place. Maybe you're right, Scott. Maybe Vitor Mira has something for Buddy Rice here.
Well, two things are happening, Jack. You don't want to be directly behind the car in front, and watch this, a little slipstream. It's making his point known.
Mira takes a move, tries to get Buddy Rice, moving on his teammate. They come side by side off of turn 2 and down the backstretch. Mira's got Rice. Rice going to try to come back on the inside. Look at Tony Kanaan. He just sits right in there watching the two of them. Boy, think about it. Rice, Mira, Kanaan. No absence of courage here as they go side by side for the lead again. Onto the backstretch again. Boy, Kanaan is just stalking him back there. Bobby Rahal, team owner for the cars running first and second, Rice and Mira. Nine to go now. Mira is going to continue to run up there. That's got to be costing both of them speed and both of them fuel to perhaps Tony Kanaan's benefit.
Well, there's no fuel worry here now, Paul. The best thing they want to do is get in front, stay in front, and grab that low side, exactly what Rice is doing right now.
But, Scott, if you're Tony Kanaan in that third spot right now, you're starting to look below that white line and say, should I, could I, might I?
He's picking who he thinks might be quickest, and right now he thinks it's Mira. Now you've got some cars that are down a lap that are going to come into the play, and that's going to start to bother Kanaan, because right now he just wants free reign at those two guys in front.
Dario Franchitti, who would be the next one in line, 4th place right now, is separated from this group by a whole gaggle of cars. If you look carefully back in there, you can see the red, white, and blue car of Franchitti.
Now what Mira did was enter in a little higher, trying to run a line just a little bit higher to hopefully maybe give himself some more speed. We'll see if this works for him. See, he enters a little higher, Paul, starts to tug it down, go down the hill a little bit to the middle of a turn, and starts to run a little higher off. He tried to keep Rice a little lower for a few laps earlier, and it wasn't working for both of them.
Dan Weldon is sitting in there low, behind Tony Kanaan. He's his teammate. He can be an aid to him if Kanaan needs a little arrow push to get him forward. The coaching to Vitor Mira, and Kanaan moved up and then had to yank it down. That'll lose some momentum.
right now, Paul, Rice is in there. His heart rate is going, because what you're thinking about as a driver is, I have enough speed to stay on the low side. He's got to give a little push to Mir to get him high on the racetrack, but not too much, because if he gives too much of a break, he knows Cannon's going to fill the hole right on the very bottom.
They continue to race side by side.
The X factor in this thing, guys, that green and white 711 car. Tony Kanaan is chomping at the bit. He just can't find a hole right now.
Remember what poking your nose in between two of these cars, how that didn't pay off for Jeff Simmons just moments ago.
Now, are you watching Mir, what he's doing off of 4, guys?
Oh, look how close here.
I said earlier in the show that Mir's a smart driver. What he's doing is he's trying to get his car so he places it correctly. Right through 3 and 4. He's looking at the line right now. He's looking at the start-finish line, trying to get a good run off of 4 with his car right now. So he's ahead only by inches at the line, and that's what he's looking for. He's trying to find that run off of 4 because he knows he can't get clearly by him.
A little less than 3 miles to go now, and it's still totally undecided. Rice on the inside in 15. 17 is Vitor Mira. They're teammates, and they go head-to-head down the back straight. White flag will come out next time by...
Outside, still on your outside. Teammates on your outside.
That reminder,
Outside,
teammate.
still outside.
Not just another car, teammate on your outside. Very important right now.
Cannon's looking, still outside. Go get ahead of him. He's on your right rear, still outside. Still outside.
Still undecided. Buddy came off of 2 a little bit better. Now they thunder into turn 3. Final 2 corners in this run here, and it's still a question mark. Vitor Mira drops back just a bit. Now he pulls up alongside and at the line. Mira. Now Rice. At first the computer gave us Mira, and then it gave us Rice. Whoa!
Way to rip it up, buddy. That's a good job.
IRL's done it again. Another fantastic finish. So for Buddy Rice, don't forget, second never means anything, no matter how close it is. .005 the finish. Todd Harris.
Well, it's a happy day for Bobby Rahal and Rahal Letterman. No new situation for you.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's, I didn't know, we were just rooting for the team. I'm so proud of the team, and those Honda engines were unbelievable. And for Vitor, great job, and of course, Buddy. And boy, just for our team, for Argent, for Centrix, our sponsors, I mean, couldn't be any better.
As close as they got in the last 10 laps, that had to make you just a little bit nervous.
Well, Kanaan couldn't run in traffic. He'd get close at the end of the straight, but when you see he'd drop back in the corners, and as long as those 2 guys ran side by side, there was no room for anybody to go.
What can you say about Buddy Rice a week when an American legend like Al Unser Jr. retires? Here is Buddy Rice. Looks like he's stepping right in that position.
Well, there's no question. I think Buddy's he's a great young driver. He's got a long career ahead of him, and just thrilled to have him on board with us. He's been a dream as far as a driver, a team player like you can't believe, and I'm really happy for him.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Paul Page, all things are well at Rahal Letterman. Back up to you.
Yeah, there's a celebration in that cockpit going on under this Kansas sun. Let's take a look at this finish again, guys. Look at this. Now, right at that point, the computer first kicked up Mira, and then it recycled itself and kicked up Rice. Look at this.
Only by a few inches. We talked about Mira trying to get that run off of 4. He knew he wasn't going to get completely past him at the line. He had to have a shot at it coming off of 4. How many times in these races do you see it come down to not only the last lap, the last couple of turns, but the drive from turn 4 right down to the finish line?
51 ten-thousandths of a second. Second closest in IRL history.
And this win by Buddy Rice, I think, now makes a statement, Paul, that he is the new sheriff in town in terms of American drivers. We talked about it during the race that Sam Hornish is a 2-time IRL champion, carried the Star-Spangled Banner. Now this guy, Buddy Rice, can at least lay claim to it.
There he goes into the winner's circle, Buddy Rice. And this is going to be a celebration. The Indy 500 champion. Yeah, he's happy with that one. Unbuckles as the winner for his sponsor in the Argent Mortgage 300.
Do you think the owner of Argent Mortgage will offer him another car?
Another car, maybe something to pull with the car, big trailer, you know, nice Airstream or something. What do you think?
You know, Buddy said this week he was going to have a little bit of time off and then get right back on the whole program after Nashville. Big week this week for him, I'm sure. Very busy.
The crowd got their show today. We promised you some fireworks, and I think we came through on our promise. On the 4th of July, the American driver from Phoenix, Arizona, the Indy 500 champion, has taken the win, Jerry.
And Paul, how truly appropriate down here as this crowd listens in as our nation celebrates its birthday. As you mentioned, a 28-year-old American from Phoenix, Arizona is able to wave the red, white, and blue and celebrate in victory lane. Buddy Rice puts the Firestone hat on, gets a nice big drink of water. And Buddy, congratulations on an outstanding effort. That last lap, what an unbelievable finish.
Yeah, I mean, we've done an excellent job. I can't say enough for Vitor. I mean, he's done a superb job. 2 back-to-back seconds. There's a huge boost for us in the points right now. We needed this win. And what can you say here at Kansas Speedway, the home of Argent's race right now that they sponsor. So this is great for Argent, Pioneer, and Honda, and the Panos G-Force. And can't say enough.
Those last lap, let's relive that again. I mean, it looked like that possibly your teammate Mira had you by 6 or 8 inches coming off of turn 4. How did you climb back at the stripe?
You know, it's just the way timing was going to work out. He had a good run on the lap before, and you know, just the Honda power helped me out right there, and you know, we're going to hold the bottom and hold it the whole time. So that's where we need to be.
Bobby Rahal said there were no team orders. Whoever wins, wins. And said, I just don't want these guys to take each other out. I know you had a lot of confidence knowing Vitor was going to give you plenty of room.
Yeah, I mean, I knew you could run against Vitor. We have before last year when we were semi-teammates and stuff. So it was great to be able to run with him. I'm glad for a Rahal 1-2, so this is great.
And your dad, Bud, watching back in Phoenix, he's always been here, but today he wasn't.
You better be sitting down. You're not supposed to be up, so you better be relaxing right now.
Buddy Rice saying hello to Dad, and he is in victory lane for the 2nd time this year. Rahal Letterman runs 1-2 on a wild finish here on July 4th at Kansas.
And we'll make for an even more interesting afternoon as we continue on with our coverage of the golf. And here at the Argent Mortgage Indy 300, it's Buddy Rice that is the winner in an incredibly close finish. Results unofficial, but no challenge to these at this point. His teammate second, and then the 3 Andretti green cars of Kanan Franchitti and Brian Herta. Not a record run. They were running at 177.216 miles an hour. But at one point they had a terrific high-speed run averaging better than 185. This is the official photograph of the finish here, and it's close, but believe it or not, that is not the closest finish. We'll take you back to Chicago, 2002. Yellow cars, Hornish, that's Al Unser Jr. in the black and red car. And at 24 10,000ths of a second, Hornish over Unser Jr. That is the closest finish in the IRL. Let's go down to Todd Harris.
With Vitor Mira, Vitor, maybe one of the closest races we've seen in a long time. You came to the line and you didn't know who'd won.
I didn't, actually. Well, I've seen so many times people celebrating and having a bad news afterwards. And first thing I asked was who won. And even the crew took me like 5 seconds to answer me because they even didn't know. Also, it was so close. But thanks to the Centrix car, Rahal Letterman Racing 1-2. I mean, on the end of the day, it's a 1-2 for the team, 1-2 for Honda, and 1-2 to Rahal Letterman Racing. I mean, the team cannot ask for more. I could, but the team could not. So that was a good weekend.
When the yellow flag came out with 20 laps to go, did you know it was going to be a dash to the finish, and did you think you had the shot?
I thought I had the shot. The car, I think I had the quickest car on the track. I was able to pass people everywhere, and I saw a lot of people struggling. So, again, without the power and without the perfect chassis that the Rahal Letterman Racing.
So that finish at 51 10,000ths of a second, Scott Goodyear, you've been in a situation like that. He's putting on a good face, but it's got to hurt.
It certainly hurts, you know, but he got some great news this week, obviously, knowing that he's there for the remainder of the year. And he built confidence at Richmond. He built confidence here, but now he's a permanent fixture of that team, and it makes a great deal for the rest of the year.
We're going to take you back to that final lap. And Scott, can you kind of tell us what they ought to be doing and thinking?
Well, right now they're both pushing that throttle pedal, Paul, down as far as it will go. You probably get a lock in your leg and in your knee. And right now, Buddy Rice is actually trying to push Mir up the racetrack a little bit, trying to make the run around the outside a little longer. And watch what he does coming out of 4 here. He'll just start to push him up, make it go a little bit high, and then he takes a run down the hill to the start-finish line, and he just gets what probably gave him the victory.
And we see that so often on the last lap because it's not about the line into turn 1, Scott. It's about trying to narrow down the racetrack as much as possible. And at 51 10,000ths of a second, maybe that run down the hill was the difference between first and second.
And Buddy Rahal had to wait for the confirmation as well. Mira didn't know who won. Maybe Buddy Rice had a pretty good idea. That's the official finish photograph in the photo finish here at Kansas Speedway. So Bobby Rahal, the car owner, very happy with that. Don't forget, coming up next, the Cialis Western Open final round coverage on ABC. Back at Kansas Speedway, the point standings now remain the same at the top with Kanaan and Weldon, but in the top 10 of the points, there have been 8 different position changes. Herta is now in 5th. He took a big jump forward. And look at Mira. He took a 4-position jump forward to move into 10th. So while at mid-season you kind of expect that whole points battle to spread out a little bit, what we're actually seeing here is that the points battle seems to be getting closer and closer and closer as we roll down to the final half, the second half of this season. What are you thinking?
Well, right now, as a driver and team, Paul, what you're thinking about 6 races in the next 7 weeks. You know you have to be consistent. You have to finish races. You have to gain points. You know, and I look at this weekend here, Rahal Letterman stumped the Andretti Green team again, just like they did at Indianapolis. You know, you can see it on Michael's face, a little bit of pain. What do we got to do to beat these guys?
Well, the other thing is you got to think a little bit about Team Penske here. They started off so strong with a win, but now it seems that Team Penske is giving way to 2 other very powerful juggernaut teams.
Well, yeah, Paul, let's talk about the battle for engines. You've got Honda sweeping all of these races, and Toyota, which is Penske's Toyotas, or what he's got for a power plant, they're not performing the way they should. And I mean, there's a lot at stake over the next few races, as Scott said, and I think there's a lot of pressure too.
Well, our pit guys had at least one dangerous moment when Weldon tried to pull that pit tank out into the track as well. You guys, your perspective today?
Well, Paul, Buddy Rice may have won this race today, but I think the big winner today was the Indy Racing League. When you see this kind of competition on July 4th on a 1.5-mile racetrack, when you can put a blanket over the 3 cars, Todd, that crossed the start-finish line in the victory. I mean, you got to say a huge win for IndyCar Racing and the Indy Racing League.
Yeah, no question about it. Congratulations to Buddy Rice. Vitor Meira really showed the reason why he's going to be back the rest of the season. And Tony Kanaan, he's like bad Samsonite luggage. He just won't go away, and I think we'll hear from him the rest of the season.
Tony Kanaan will be a factor. How about Buddy Rice coming on board? Vitor Meira secures his ride, guys. A great day here in Middle America for IndyCar Racing.
And now, as it seems to be with the IRL, again, the scenery changes just a little bit. And Scott, they're going to head in 2 weeks now off to Nashville for a night race. Again, different kind of oval.
Well, it's a different kind of oval, Paul. It's a 1.25 miles. The key thing about Nashville, a cement racetrack. Everything they learned about racetracks around the country right now with pavement goes away a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how they fare next week at a 1/4 mile racetrack.
And under the lights, we all love that.
Oh, yeah, it's a great way to watch races because of the shadows and the speed.
Well, join us under the lights in just 2 weeks on ESPN from Nashville Superspeedway for the Firestone Indy 200. That's Saturday, July 17th, 7 o'clock. We'll be with you then next on ABC from the Milwaukee Mile. New stop on the schedule Sunday, July 25th at 3:30 Eastern. Coming up next, of course, the final round coverage of the PGA Tour Cialis Western Open. I'm Paul Page for Scott Goodyear, Jack Arute, and the gang in the pits. Congratulations to Buddy Rice. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports Championship Television.